Welcome to Crime on Caffeine. I'm your host, Erica.
And I'm your host, Allison. Thank you so much for tuning into another episode. Today, we be sipping on a really, really cool coffee. So my case has a lot of LA in it. So I went on the search, on the hunt, on the prowl for an LA coffee. And I found a place called Matte Black Coffee. First of all, everything I own is matte black, so makes a lot of sense. And it is the cutest, like I'm literally about to hop on a flight, go to LA just to go to this place. It's the cutest place ever. It looks like you're in a giant cartoon, and their coffee is fantastic.
Yes, and of course we're sipping on the Broadway blend because we're
failed Broadway stars. Oh my God. True crime podcasters, failed Broadway stars.
If I ever even tried, maybe.
No, I straight up told my dad I wanted to be on Broadway. I almost went to college for musical theater.
I wish you did. I wish I did.
I wish I did too, but my dad was like, oh, don't do that, blah, blah, blah. Then I graduate and we're watching, I don't know, some musical on the couch. And I'm like, Dad, this could have been me. And he goes, the nerve, first of all, the gall. He goes, yeah, it really could have been you. To tell you I was pissed? Oh my God. I'm like, what do you mean? I literally just graduated college without a degree in musical theater.
Girlie, there's still time. Go back.
I'm going back. I'm going back to college, everybody. No, but I can't. I'm way past that point in my life. If anything, I was going to go and be a doula, but that's like a 2-year certification. I got a lot of aspirations here.
So true. I can imagine myself doing a lot of things, but that's about it. You guys learned something new about us today, though.
Right?
If anybody else is a musical theater nerd,
please watch Tick, Tick, Boom.
Yeah.
Please.
And I still haven't watched West Side Story.
Okay, what?
Mm-mm. My mom refuses to watch it. The new one.
Okay,
my mom won't watch it.
Why?
I think she's just I don't know if it's like an Ansel Elgort type of thing or just like she refuses to watch it because it's like a new movie version whatever. Yeah.
I will say I was a little thrown off by him, but
yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for your continued support, but don't forget to keep following us, keep subscribing, keep reviewing. Haven't seen a lot of those come in these days. Y'all forgetting.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute since I got a notification that we have a new Apple Podcast review, and then like my heart starts racing because I'm immediately like, oh my God, damage control, what do I need to do? But then it's usually very nice, so thank you.
Yes, thank you all for mostly being so nice and supportive. Again, all of our social medias are just Crime on Caffeine. Our website is just Crime on Caffeine. And newsflash, we have now started to put our episodes on YouTube, if that is your preferred method. Because I know a lot of people, when I told them I had a podcast, they were like, where can I watch it? Well, it's a podcast, silly. You listen to them. But it is on YouTube.
Disclaimer, we will not be including the video recordings of us because we wouldn't want to put you guys through that. It will just be the audio.
Yeah.
Maybe another time.
Maybe later on down the road when I don't look like a naked mole rat. And
maybe in 5 or so years.
When Erica's back here and we can do it in person and actually look like presentable humans, but you just don't want to see what we look like at this point.
Once I move back to Florida and I'm just like thriving in my element, we'll give you some good video content. Okay. But like, I'm having like a little glow down right now. Just trying to focus on the inner me.
What is this opening right now?
I did just want to say we have been getting quite a few episode recommendations. Thank you guys so much. Like, you don't even know how much that helps. We are going to be doing them in the future, so make sure you listen, just to see if we do your recommendation. Chances are we probably will. There's one that we got recently that was already on our list, so we're super excited. So thank you guys so much for like actually like caring and like helping us out. We really appreciate it. If you guys want to like submit an episode for us to do or submit a coffee for us to try or anything like that, go ahead and reach out to us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever. Like Allison said, you can email us. Our email's in our Instagram. Or you can just go onto our website, crimeoncaffeine.com, and there is a submission box down at the bottom of the homepage.
Today, I am doing a case because people wanted us to explore some more infamous people. And I was not ready to dive into a few of my faves yet. So I decided to, and this is crazy to me, I decided to do the serial killer Samuel Little. And a lot of people don't know about him.
Which they should, because he made quite a dent. I only know about him because I know that he was raised in Ohio for quite some time. And he spent some time there later in his life. But other than that, I probably, if I wasn't from Cleveland, I wouldn't have known.
Exactly. And this is important because, first of all, his nickname as a serial killer is the grossest thing I've ever heard in my life. He's known as the choke and stroke killer.
I can't. Like, maybe I'm 12 years old, but who came up with that? There has to be something like a little bit more PG. Come on, that's so gross.
There's nothing PG about this man. I'm just going to put that out here in the open right now. Nothing PG about him. But without further ado, I can just get right on into it. I will mention that this is a very condensed version, and it's still going to be long as heck, but it's a very condensed version of his history because if you don't know, Samuel Little is known by the FBI as America's most prolific serial killer. He confessed to strangling 93 women, putting him at more murders than Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy, and Jeffrey Dahmer combined. So
that is truly insane. Truly insane. And it's everybody has heard of those men. Mm-hmm. So 93 women, and just the fact that people don't know him, and the FBI literally says it's their most prolific serial killer. You would think that he would be like the one person to always pop into people's brains when you talk about murder and true crime.
Well, he will now. So Samuel Little's killing spree lasted from the years of 1970 to 2005, and the FBI crime analysts believe all of his confessions are credible. Law enforcement has been able to verify 50 of his confessions since 2019. Many of his victims' deaths, however, were originally ruled overdoses or attributed to accidental or undetermined causes, and some of the bodies were never found. Samuel Little was born on June 7th, 1940. He was raised mostly by his grandmother in Ohio, as Erica said, and it didn't take long for him to commit a life of just crime. He started at the age of 16 when he was sent to juvenile detention center for being convicted of breaking and entering. After serving time, he dropped out of high school and moved to Florida with his mother. Samuel became a competitive boxer in between stints in prison for various crimes, aggravated assault, rape, you name it. The FBI said that he lived a nomadic life, getting by through stealing, selling his loot, and using the money for drugs and alcohol. He had frequent run-ins with police, but was often let go after short jail time. In the 80s, the south central portion of Los Angeles was pretty much riddled with crack cocaine and prostitution, and the prostitutes were often victimized, whether it being raped, beaten, murdered. These were breeding grounds for many different serial killers and murderers throughout the years, but on July 13th, 1987, the body of Carol Alford was found discarded in an alley. She was not a prostitute, but she was a mother, but was known to occasionally drink and possibly had an issue with narcotics. Her death was ruled a manual strangulation. Audrey Nelson was found on August 14th, 1989, in a dumpster behind a Chinese food restaurant in the south central area of LA. She had a record of prostitution and drug use, was also a mother of one child. Her death was ruled manual strangulation. 3 weeks later, the body of Guadalupe Cowadado was found on September 3rd, 1989. She was found in an abandoned auto repair shop building on an old mattress in one of the corners. She also had a prior offense for prostitution and drugs, was the mother of 2 boys, and her death was ruled a manual strangulation. These 3 women were found just miles from one another, and their deaths were unsolved for decades. It wasn't until 2012 that the LAPD homicide detective Mitzi Roberts and LAPD robbery homicide detective Rick Jackson, who were working together in the cold case unit, got a DNA hit in the case of all 3 women, linking them all to the same suspect. Samuel Little, aka Samuel Dowell, who was 71 at the time of this match.
Wait, why AKA Samuel Dowell?
So when he was arrested in a different state, he was going by the name Samuel Dowell.
Oh, sneaky man.
Mm-hmm. He tried to be sneaky. Little was convicted of first-degree murder by a Los Angeles County jury on September 2nd, 2014 for the murder of the 3 women that he killed in Los Angeles that I just named, after he was extradited to California from Kentucky on a narcotics charge. He was tracked there by Mitzi Roberts after she learned that he was receiving benefits in that state, and she had the U.S. Marshal go out and make the arrest. He vehemently denied being a part of any of these murders over and over again. Once he was in custody for the drug charge, detectives collected DNA from Little, and that is what tied him to the 3 unsolved homicides. Before this happened, his rap sheet over the years was over 100 pages long.
Holy
including
shit.
75 arrests. Starting at the age of 16, by the time he was 35, he had been arrested 26 times, and in total, he was arrested in 24 different states.
Oh my gosh, he was trying to go for all 50, wasn't he?
I have no idea. He was arrested on rape, assault. He was even arrested for murder. He was tried 3 different times, but despite witness testimony from survivors, he was repeatedly acquitted and spent very little time in jail.
Seems fair.
Right? Before his convictions in 2014, Little was linked to at least 8 sexual assaults, attempted murders, or killings, but he repeatedly escaped serious punishment. He served 2 prior sentences in California's state prison, including a 4-year term ending in 1987 for assault with a deadly weapon and false imprisonment. And he also had a stint of about 14 months, ending in April of 2014. Samuel Little was interviewed extensively by the Texas Ranger James Holland from June 2018 to, his time of passing. He shared details of the killings because he wanted to move prisons and offered his information as a deal with the police. It's unclear why he wanted to transfer prisons or if detectives agreed to make that deal, or if Little even shared the information separate from any agreement with law enforcement. During the course of these interviews, he confessed to committing 93 murders between 1970 and 2005, as I said before. There's also tapes of these confessions that he has made. All 93 of them. So Samuel had a photographic memory and was able to describe where he met and killed all of these victims, where he left their bodies, what the victims looked like. He did lack the ability to accurately judge time frames and distances. He was proven to be off by more than 10 years and 40 miles in a lot of his confessions. So the years and distances provided in the stories and the interviews that we will have on the website, but I did take a few of them, just the words of them, to describe to you. So they're not considered fully accurate because he was proven to be off on some of them. His confessions touched off a nationwide effort to confirm that he was tied to unsolved killings in more than a dozen states. Over the course of 2 years, he shared all of those details and informations in those interviews. And he also drew incredibly detailed pictures of his victims, which was a
Oh my
what?
God, I saw those and I was so confused because I thought they were like the sketches that the sketch artist did. And I
Oh
was like,
no.
oh, I've never seen sketches this colorful. Okay.
No, he drew those himself from his photographic memory.
Holy shit. Okay, so was he intelligent?
Oh, I don't know. That's a debatable topic for me. We'll get into the
Okay.
psychology of it later, but
Okay.
I mean, he had to be somewhat intelligent to get away with 93 committed murders.
Yeah, across state lines. Yeah.
Or he just did it in a way that he knew he wouldn't get caught, which we will also get into. But
Okay.
for now, these drawings that he did and he gave them to the FBI, they helped pretty much solve a lot of the murders because the women's families were able to accurately identifying the victims from these photos. There is a webpage that we will include on our website that has all of the lists of confessions, the drawings that he had drew, and again, as I said, there's actual videotape of the confessions that we will include. Detectives hope that with the public's help and the information from Samuel Little, they can resolve the remaining unsolved cases. So, Little did state that he strangled all of his victims, with the exception of 2 who were drowned, and was adamant that he never shot or stabbed them. Investigators say the manner in which Little killed his victims was more reminiscent to suffocation than strangulation. In several of the victims, they didn't have broken or fractured throats. I know we were just talking about how it could be possible to, murder 93 people without being caught. Well, he was the one who basically was boasting to investigators that he was going after people who wouldn't be immediately missed. So he said, I'd go back to the same city sometimes and pluck me another grape. How many grapes you all got on that vine here? I'm not going to go over there in the white neighborhood and pick out a little teenage girl.
It's horrible, but he's right. Like, we've talked about this in episodes before.
Right. That's what I was going to say. AKA, he went after a certain socioeconomic class. He went after people who the police weren't exactly going to look into if they were killed, murdered, missing, you know? So, in that sense, when you asked if I think he was smart, I think that he knew what he was doing, not necessarily that he was the smartest. I'm going to go over some of the circumstances of these deaths with you now. Obviously, if I was to go over all 93 confessions, we would be here for a week. So I just picked out some from across the country. Majority did happen in the LA area, but there were also murders in Texas, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana, Illinois, Ohio, California, which I already said, Indiana, Arizona, New Mexico, and South Carolina.
Holy shit.
The first alleged victim was Mary Jo Brosley. She began a pattern that Little would follow throughout his whole life. Mary Jo was an alcoholic who was estranged from her family. She had a 7-year-old son in 1970, whom she abandoned so she could move from Massachusetts to Florida. Her family reported her as missing 2 days after she left, not knowing where she had ended up until 45 years later. Mary Jo met Samuel Little in a local bar and he strangled her to death. Her body was found in a shallow grave, but her remains were not identified until 2017. So, one of the unmatched confessions from Miami, Florida, in the years 1971 to 1972. Little recounted that in 1971 or 1972, he met an attractive 18 to 19-year-old transgender black woman in Miami, Florida. Little said between 5'6" and 5'7" feet tall and approximately 140 pounds. They first met at a bar known as the Pool or Pool Palace near 17th Avenue in Miami. A few days later, they met again at a bar in Overton where he offered to give her a ride home. He stated that Marianne lived with several other roommates between Brownsville and Liberty City. When they arrived there, one of Marianne's roommates asked them to buy a can of shaving cream, so they returned to Little's car, a gold four-door Pontiac Le Mans, and he drove Marianne north on Highway 27 and killed her on a driveway, possibly near a sugarcane field. He then drove further down the highway into the Everglades and turned down a dirt road that led to a river or a swamp. He dragged her body approximately 200 yards into the thick, muddy water, and he does not believe that the body was ever found. Another unmatched confession from New Orleans in 1982. Samuel Little stated that in approximately 1982, possibly in the autumn, he met a black female in New Orleans. He described the woman as approximately 30 to 40 years old, 5'8" to 5'9", weighing 160 pounds, with honey-colored brown skin and medium-length straight hair. He remembers that she was wearing a pretty dress with buttons on the front. He said they met in a club where she was attending a birthday party with a group of friends and one of her two sisters. He left with her in a vehicle, a Lincoln Continental Mark III. The woman told Little that she lived with her mother, who was sick. The woman also gave him the keys to her house.
No.
I know. He drove the woman to the Little Woods exit off I-10, where he turned down a dirt road along a canal that was being dredged. They exited his car, then he pulled the woman towards the canal where he killed her and left her body. Afterward, Little drove back to the motel where he was staying in Mississippi. The next unmatched confession I included was from Covington, Kentucky in 1984. Samuel Little stated that in approximately 1984, possibly in the summertime, he was driving his Lincoln Continental Mark III from Lorain, Ohio to Cincinnati. While en route, he met a 25-year-old white female outside a strip club. He remembers her as being 5'6" to 5'7" and weighing about 130 to 170 pounds. He described her as having short blonde hair and blue eyes with a hippie appearance. She approached him and asked for a ride to Miami, Florida, saying her mother lived there. He said that the woman drove south on Interstate 75. When they reached Cincinnati, the two of them spent time downtown on Vine Street. They continued driving together across the river into northern Kentucky. He described driving into a hilly area not far from I-75. He drove up a small dirt road to the top of a little round hill, where he strangled the woman in the back seat of the car and left her body on top of the hill.
The fact that he remembers all of this is insane to me.
Yeah, he literally has a photographic memory. And there was a psychologist that I listened to that said a lot of the times our brain doesn't remember these things. The only way it does is if we replay that, like these situations in our heads over and over again to the point where like it's just second nature. So he must have been just replaying every murder he committed over and over again in his head to have this clear of detail still.
He was like literally haunting himself.
Right. But like he liked it. So back in Los Angeles, California, between January 31st and February 1st of 1987, shortly after getting out of prison, he was on parole. He met a black female wearing shorts near Central Avenue in Los Angeles. He went to a drug dealer's house, and the drug dealer told the female to leave with Samuel Little. He walked down Figueroa Avenue with the woman and then turned left onto Florence Avenue. He bought some quote-unquote dope with the female and then walked back down Figueroa Avenue to the vacant house located next to Florence Avenue. There was a gas station on the corner of Florence and Figueroa near the vacant house. There was also a garage right in front of the vacant house with only a hook on the door. There was a fence around the house, and the house faced Figueroa Avenue, and the garage had a wooden door on rollers. There was a brick residence next door to the garage. He entered into the garage with the female. The garage contained sawhorses, wood planks, and paint. There was a wide ledge or shelf around the interior of the garage. He said it was approximately 5 feet off the ground and made of solid 2x4s. He described the black female as having a big butt and being approximately 23 to 24 years old. He said she was dark skinned, stood approximately 5 foot tall, and weighed approximately 140 pounds. He got onto the shelf/ledge with the woman. The woman began playing with her necklace and Little then strangled her. The woman fought, and then both of them fell off the shelf onto a wide platform. He then strangled the woman to death while sitting on the woman's back. The woman was left fully clothed, lying on the board elevated platform, laying on her stomach. Approximately 2 weeks later, Samuel Little was walking past the garage and saw that it had yellow police tape on it. He killed this woman a couple weeks after he got out of prison, and he believed he killed the woman in the middle of February. He then walked past the garage several months later and said that it had been torn down. In Los Angeles, California, again, approximately March or April of 1987, while driving his black Thunderbird, Samuel met a slender 5'7" to 5'10" tall woman who was about 120 pounds, who had pretty yellow skin. He also explained that she was a black female that was a crackhead at Tam's Hamburger Stand located on 51st Street and Central Avenue in Los Angeles. The woman lived in a motel next to the hamburger stand. She was wearing a miniskirt style sundress. The woman got into Little's vehicle and then drove to a laundromat on Central Avenue closer to downtown, possibly at the intersection of Martin Luther King. Little parked near vegetation in the parking lot of the laundromat. Little and the black female both climbed into the back seat, and he strangled the woman until she passed out. After she came to, he strangled her again, and then he drove all the way out Central Avenue past Imperial Avenue until he got to a 7-Eleven type convenience store. He then hung this woman up on a rail next to the convenience store and left her there clothed in her dress and shoes. The next one I'll go over is from Los Angeles/Compton. In approximately March or April of 1987, he met a 5'5" to 5'6" tall woman, 120 pounds, approximately 19 years old, with honey-colored black skin. He also called her a crackhead or a gangbanger in Compton, California. The woman was a blood and had a red bandana on and had tattoos on her body. Little took the woman to a parking lot in Compton. He strangled her, and she fought him vigorously. He drove the female to the hills out towards Hollywood. There was a drop-off on the other side of the fence that he pulled up to, and he picked up the woman and attempted to throw her over the fence, but she got caught on the fence, and then he eventually just pushed the woman all the way over the fence. He stated he could hear the woman roll at least halfway down the hill. And the last unmatched confession I'm going to do in this episode is from Las Vegas, Nevada in 1993. Little was driving a 1978 yellow Cadillac Eldorado to Los Angeles when he met a black woman on Owens Avenue or Jackson Street in Las Vegas. He described her as a thin, dark-skinned woman who was approximately 40 years old. She was about 5'5" and 110 to 120 pounds. He believed that the woman had naturally short hair, but wore a long-haired wig as depicted in his drawing. He remembered the woman pointing out her son, a black male who was approximately 19 to 23 years old. He confessed to taking her to a motel room where he strangled her to death. He said that he then placed the woman's body in the trunk of his car and drove to the outskirts of Las Vegas. He pulled off of the remote road and rolled the woman's body down a steep slope. He then threw her clothes out further down the road, and it's likely that her body was also never found. I want to stop there because I still have quite a few confessions that I wanted to go over, and we still need to go over the psychology and like how this all ended up. So I am gonna go ahead and say that this is gonna be a two-parter, y'all.
Yeah, I'm really excited for the psychology because I want to know why the fuck he's like this.
Yeah, I don't really have a good answer for why he's like this because you know what? No one should be like this. But so far, I've gone over some of his confessions, unmatched confessions. So I just wanted to stop here before you guys were listening to a 2 hour long episode. Don't worry, we will post part 2 on Monday. So you'll have that on your way to work on Monday.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Like Allison said, we will have part 2 out for you guys on Monday, so make sure you check it out. And then we'll still have another episode for you guys on Wednesday. So we are giving you 2 in 1. You're welcome.
Yes, you're welcome. And silly me, I thought I'd be able to do this in one part. And as I'm reading, I just look at the time and I'm like, oh no, we have so much.
He killed 93 people and you thought you could do it in one part.
Yes, but I know I'm ambitious, but I didn't include like any of these women clearly. Like I thought I really cut down here.
Make sure you guys are following us on whatever streaming platform you listen to, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You could subscribe to us on YouTube now if that's what you like, just so that you know when our episodes come out. Following us on all social media at Crime on Caffeine.
And get ready for part 2 because you also haven't heard a lot of these confessions, and the psychology is just fantabulous, guys. So, oh God, hold on to your horses, really stay put, and we will see you on Monday.